Oh, that's really cute.
Everyone's been a bit like, I don't know what to say. And then has come up with something.
On the other side of the table with your giant microphone.
It's not that big.
It's fine.
We could have that. I've been seeing, because I follow a lot of podcasters on Instagram, and they have like fully like ones with like guards in front of them and all sorts.
I promise not to spit on yours. It's fine.
That's all right.
It's okay. I think it lives in your bag a lot. So.
Yeah, it does. It literally does live.
Please have like a bit of something on it.
Probably dog hair.
Well, I mean, welcome to the dog hair house.
It literally does live in my bag just in case. I mean, mainly because then I know where it is, but also then I can just grab my bag and I know I have it, so I can't forget anything. Okay.
Cool.
Do you want to start?
Okay.
Because it's your contact.
Oh, yes. So, hello everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Pony Podcast. Today we've come to see Saz, who runs the A Holistic Solution.
Yes, the A Holistic Solution.
The A Holistic. Oh man, this is good at editing.
They're one of our best followers on Instagram. We'll be handing out awards at some point, so if you are following us on Instagram, up your game.
Yeah. So Saz runs. Actually, that's the first question. So give us an overview about your business, because you'll explain it better than I will.
So, about 10 years ago, I realised that I definitely did not want to work for IBM and started working with horses because, well, I say started working, I'd never done anything other than horses.
Not more money in IBM.
I know, that was the only thing that was drawing me to it, and just not the life. And I tried training as a behaviourist, but I wasn't very good at that. Mm-hmm. And then I found bodywork and realised I'm not very good at as being a behaviourist because I can't be a calm rock, because I kind of empathise with the horses, and so when they're frightened, I feel frightened, and when they're sore, I can tell where they're sore. Mm. So I trained as a body worker.
What does body working mean?
It means that I'm not a physio, but I help your horse's back get better when it's sore.
Okay.
It's a good generic term. I'm fully qualified in 3 different modalities, and I've done training weekends in maybe 6 or 7 other things.
Wow.
It's basically, I'm a perpetual student, so I just spot cool stuff and then organise courses for other people to come and learn it so I can learn it too.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a really neat way of educating yourself. But I called the business A Holistic Solution. And at the time, I was qualified to help horses feel better. And I wasn't really sure why it seemed like the right name, but it felt like the right name. About 2 years after that, I realised that the riders were most of the problem with my horses, so I retrained as a human therapist as well, so that I could then help the riders feel better, so they would sit straighter, and then the horses would feel better. And then I learned more about saddlery and about nutrition and about hoof trimming and about teeth. And suddenly I was becoming, I can't do your horse's teeth, but I can certainly tell you when they're sore and why you should get them done. And then this year, I finished my qualifications as a classical dressage instructor too.
Cool.
Because modern movement science shows that manual therapy is amazing, but it gives you like a window of opportunity in which you can rewire the way that a body moves. And so it was all very well me coming in and giving you an hour of my time so your horse felt better now, but then by next week when you've worked it some more, it might feel sore again. So now I can fix your horse, and teach you all how to move better, and advise you on your nutrition and your saddle and your feet and your teeth. So it really is like, I was suddenly this time I was like, oh, that's why I called it a holistic solution, because that's basically where I've been heading. It's just taken 10 years to get there.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it makes every day a bit different.
Even better.
Yeah.
So you've kind of answered the next question about the horse management.
That's good.
You said that why you sort of went into the horses, but what gave you the idea to start with bodywork rather than going into more of the as an instructor teaching?
I've always kind of taught bits and pieces along the way as it is. Like I met you, Alex, because I taught you at Pony Club. But the bodywork, I have a weird set of joints, and I'm kind of consistently in pain. And when I met somebody who was doing a demonstration of equine touch, which is the first bodywork I ever trained in, my back didn't hurt for 4 days straight, and I literally had never not been in pain. So I was like, okay, whatever this is, I need to learn this. And that's kind of how my education has gone. I've just met somebody who does something cool, and I've gone, oh, I like the look of that. So I'm now equine touch. I'm a craniosacral therapist for people and horses. I trained in reiki eventually. I never thought I would, because my degree is in biology. Like I have a scientific brain, and reiki always seemed the other end of the woo-woo spectrum from where I saw myself.
I've been told about Reiki and was always like, nah.
Well, and then as I did more and more craniosacral therapy, I'd put my hands on things and they would just randomly get better before I'd actually started working in inverted commas. And so I wanted a qualification that my insurers would cover me for, which meant I could stand and put my hands on people's horses and I would be covered. Because some of the horses I was working on were worth more than my house.
Yeah.
So, so the insurance aspect became quite,
important.
But actually the Reiki's been a really great addition to what I do.
Really?
A lot of it is about training yourself to be much more centered and present and just very quiet with it, which actually it's helped my riding. It's helped the way I raise my children.
What is Reiki?
Reiki is an ancient Japanese art of channeling the energy of the universe.
Sure. Okay.
Which I hear myself. I'm not sure that there is a way to explain it. The more quantum physics you read, the more that sounds actually very, very plausible.
Yeah.
That, things can be in two places at the same time, so we don't really understand the universe at all. But all you do is you become very calm and very centered, and you put your hands on something, or even near something.
Okay.
And you can feel where there are differences in the body,
Yeah.
and then they stop hurting when you work on them. It's amazing. Now I have small kids, because you fall over, you bump your head, mommy puts your hand on your head, it feels better.
Oh yeah.
Chocolate. Much less cowpaw consumed in our house now.
Oh, cowpaw's so good though.
I know it tastes really good. I just keep it for me.
So, which is the aspect of your business and all the different areas that you cover that people are surprised has as much impact on the horse as it does?
I would have used to said it was the energy work, because I would turn up and I would be chatting to an owner, quite possibly with a cup of tea in one hand, with my hand on their sacroiliac, and they would say, well, when are you going to start working on the horse, because it's been nice chatting to you. I'm like 50% of the way through. Your horse is going to trot better in 5 minutes. Trust me on this. But now it's got to be the classical in hand work.
Okay.
It makes such a difference. That the in hand work that I do is so very gentle, but it's working at this neural proprioceptive level where the body learns that it's safe to move again, and that it can move in harmony with the rider. And so you do a bit of body work, and then you introduce a bit of in hand work, and then you teach the rider, and suddenly the rider's like, oh, we've never moved like figure skaters at an Olympic level before. We've never floated together. So yeah, that's the bit that I enjoy the most. That and reteaching people to do rising trot in the old French pre-revolution style, where you don't lift your bum out the saddle and yet you're still very noticeably rising. That always makes people's brains dribble out of their ears. So.
I really want to see it.
Well, when you guys start vlogging, we
Yeah.
can do a riding lesson.
Okay.
That'd be really good fun.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a
yeah,
real, it's a
definitely.
real paradigm shifter of
We're collecting people that are like, oh, when you've got a video, we had Marcus Capel on, and he was like, you should come and do mounted games and we'll get you vaulting. And we were like,
oh my
cool.
god, you'll need a guinea pig for that. I'll come to that one too.
I mean, I think I'm gonna have to get a lot more athletic before we try that.
I'll bring my miniature Shetland. It'll be fun.
That sounds like more like
Yeah,
my
I can do
height.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. I haven't vaulted on anything since I was on 11 hand ponies.
I've never vaulted.
Really?
Me neither.
I've never done a running vault, but when we were younger, I spent all my time just leaping on and off my pony and sliding off its bum, and then trying to reach the ground on one side, and then jumping off and running, like leapfrogging onto it. My poor pony, honestly.
So my parents bought me a 3-year-old accidentally when I was 7, so I spent my entire life trying to stay on top of my pony.
I spent
was a mission.
my first pony, I spent all my time falling off it, and the second one I was like, I know I can fall off and it's fine. So I spent all my time falling off on it. So you're obviously a really strong advocate of groundwork. Why do you think it's important, and how much of an impact does it have on like your relationship with your horse?
So there's 2 things that people call groundwork. There's all of the amazing stuff that you learn when you do natural horsemanship stuff, like walking over tarpaulins and through pool noodles and under umbrellas and all that stuff. And I love that stuff. Like, I love working with baby horses, and it just makes them so
handed pony
brave.
stuff.
Yeah, like the trek stuff. I'm a strong advocate. Everybody should do trek with their horse, just so that you can open a gate. And I think that stuff is really, really great for building trust between the two of you, for building kind of an understanding of space. But then there is in-hand work, which for me they're 2 like radically different things. Either we have a pool noodle day, or we have a cavesson day where we're working in hand. And I started doing in hand work when I was first pregnant, because I couldn't ride and I needed to do something with the horse. And when I realised that I could teach her to do just balance in hand, I could teach her to shoulder in, to half pass, and now that I've got a bit better at it, I'm teaching them to piaffe in hand. It just makes so much sense, because a lot of the problems that horses have is the balance of their rider on top of them, and if you can teach them to do the stuff on their own, then you can put a rider up and teach them to do it under saddle, and then you can transfer control across the rider. It seems like a much less conflicty way to learn.
Our neighbour, she had a dressage horse and his saddle didn't fit and it gave him bruises all along his spine, so obviously couldn't have a saddle on. And she got a guy in to do loads of in-hand work. And I've like, it's quite a lazy dressage horse and I've never seen it move like it. Like you put a rider on and you can see him like dragging his toes around the school, and suddenly this guy a lovely guy called Roddy had him in hand.
I have heard of Roddy.
He's
worked with one of my clients' horses too.
Love him. But you'd be watching this horse and it looked completely different just because it didn't have a rider on and it had to move its ass because there was a big lunge whip behind it.
So the in-hand work all of the classical work that I do is a slightly different paradigm to a lot of the in-hand work a lot of the classical work that's taught in this country, which comes from the old military traditions, like the Philippe Carl stuff, which is just beautiful to watch. But the stuff that I've learned is from the Golden Age of equitation, like the 16th, 17th century in France.
Okay.
And rather than pushing the horse to do something, you open the space for the horse to move into.
Okay.
So the old French term en avant, which we've translated as forward, which often means rushing forwards. En avant, when you translate it from the old French, has like a connotation of a curious, engaged mind. So, you know, when you're really into something and you open the books and you go and do the stuff because it's that feeling of engagement rather than rushing forwards.
Okay.
And so you can really teach that from the ground too.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's kind of addictive.
Cool.
So we've already talked a little bit about the difference between groundwork and classical in-hand work. Which do you prefer for your horses?
I just have to do both. Because I compete in endurance, I'm one of those strange classical dressage instructors who doesn't really compete in dressage, she competes in endurance. Because if I'm going to ride a horse for 4 or 5 hours, I'd like her to be really bloody balanced and do a flying change around the corner rather than going around on the wrong loop and falling over. Yeah. Which the old classical work was so that you could ride your horse for 20 miles a day for every day without it breaking down. Yeah. So basically I'm a true classical rider, a really long way. So I kind of feel like, you know, we need to do the gates and the balloons and the many terrifying things that you meet out competing in endurance that you never, like mobile plane flyers and things, you know, drones, that kind of stuff.
Drones I hate drones. I was a rower in my first year at uni and they bought a drone to like film bits and they were filming over the top of us and it sounds like you've got like a hornet
they are really
around your head.
And then if you meet one and you're on an Arab that's fit enough to trot for 30 miles.
Not fun.
It's not my favourite thing, no. But I love the in-hand work because of the balance it gives them. Because when I've got 4 horses plus a companion horse, and when it's raining and I've got 20 minutes to go and pick up the kids, I can still get everybody 5 minutes of work done and know that I've improved their balance and I've improved the conversation between us. So it's really good for lazy days when you don't want to ride. Wow. In addition to being wonderfully valuable for but it's really great when you're like, oh, it's dark and it's wet. Well, just put your canvas on today.
So another aspect of your business is looking at like the feed and the nutrition side. We've got Beta Feed Awareness Week coming up, which is always a good plug because we've done lots of beta. And they're really interested in making everyone aware of what they're feeding their horse, making sure they're feeding it the correct feed. And we did a bit with them on prohibited substances. So that's like another aspect. You're really knowledgeable about properties of different plants and herbs.
Yeah, I do love a bit of herbalism.
Which is your favourite to use and what does it do?
I was looking at this question, I was like, how can I narrow it down to one herb? So I've
you
got
can have two.
I've got 2 favourite herbs. So my very favourite like medicinal herb is chamomile. It's so useful for so many things. We had a horse when I was in America this summer that kept on coming up with hives, and they had chamomile growing in the field, so we would just seep fresh chamomile with his feed, and the hives would go away again. And it turned out he had a wasp's nest at the end of his paddock, which was why he kept on coming up with all these things. But yeah, chamomile, you can bathe their eyes in it, you can wash them in it, you can feed it to them. Like it helps calm their digestive system, or if they've got a fever, it brings their fevers down. Works on people in the same way. So that's my most useful go-to. My favourite herb to feed them though is barley grass powder.
Oh, I've not heard of that.
So I met this wonderful woman called Rachel Windsor-Knott. She runs My Animal Matters, and she's a, I have to say this word with a deep breath, zoopharmacognosist.
I've heard of them before.
So that's allowing the animals to select the herbs or the oils that they need themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all horses love barley grass powder because it's really dense in nutrients, but it's a violent green powder, and so you just end up with these wonderful like bright green noses and everything. They then want to kiss you because they love you so much because you gave them the stuff, and it's just the best fun ever. So yes, it'll be a toss up between the two of those.
Well, so I did like a animal biology and conservation degree. So we did a lot on like ecology of England and all that stuff. And I loved learning about stuff that used to be like traditional medicine, and you would kind of be like, oh, we don't need that anymore because we have drugs for it. But the amount of like traditional remedies for things that that are actually legitimate cures. Like it used to be if you had a toothache, you chewed willow bark, and it's because willow bark,
salicylic acid, which is now illegal. You can't give your horse too much willow if you want to compete, or aloe vera juice because that's got the same thing.
But like just like how many barks were they chewing before they realised that willow bark was the one that had it in it?
And the other one that I really like is daisies. Used to be called bruisewort, and so everyone knows about using arnica for bruises, but daisies are the native British arnica.
Cool.
So you can slap some of them in a poultice too.
See stuff like that, and so many
kind of stuff.
Because I'm always seeing on your Instagram and your Facebook, like, today I've collected rose hips. And today I've made this from stuff that I foraged. And I'm like, I wish I knew stuff like that.
It's great fun. Even my kids, like aged 4, would be like, I've cut myself. I will go and find some yarrow and chew it up and put it on the wound, and then it will stop bleeding.
Wow.
Yeah, I took my daughter, we were in Reading, like in an urban setting, and so we went for a nature walk in Reading to see what we could find, and we found like 7 or 8 different herbs that we could use medicinally, so it's everywhere. It's really good fun.
You're like an old-fashioned witch. I love it so much.
I like to call myself the least fluffy hippie you're ever likely to. But yes.
That's so cool.
Oh, we're definitely going to have to get you on and do like a YouTube go foraging, I think.
Oh yeah, that'd be great fun. There's some great foraging stuff on Instagram too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, you can recommend stuff to us. We'll all go foraging.
Right.
Okay, so we're down to our 3 questions that we ask everyone.
Yeah.
What is one thing you couldn't live without?
It's got to be a horse. Like chocolate's pretty necessary, but basically a horse.
I have that as well. I didn't think it was like a big deal for me that I had to like have a horse in my life or whatever until I went to uni, and I got really, really anxious and had like not bad, like I didn't have full blown anxiety, but like I just felt anxious all the time for like my first year and the first bit of my second year, where I'd just be constantly stressed. And then I got a job riding for a friend of mine who's just outside Oxford where I was at uni, and I went out and did like 2 or 3 mornings a week for her, and I literally walked onto the yard and was like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, we've just had Mental Health Awareness Day. I'm very open about the fact that I did 5 years of, first of all, I had postnatal depression, then I was pregnant with a nut child, so then I had prenatal anxiety, they call that, and then I went back downhill to postnatal depression after that, and it just was not the most fun time of my life. But the horses, they are my mental health stability. And my whole family recognises that now, that Suz hasn't ridden in 4 days. We should all make sure that the kids are somewhere else and Suz can go and ride. Yeah. So yeah, it's really, really important to me.
What is one thing you wished you'd learned sooner?
The classical work.
Really?
The idea that the opening of the space was the key to the riding, that true balance isn't something that you can tell somebody to adopt a certain position, but true balance is something that you can find through your own presence of mind. I wish I'd known that. Like, well, I can now say I've been riding horses for 30 years, which is kind of terrifying. I just started before I was born, that's all. But yeah, I looked at a video the other day. My parents are moving house, so my dad was going through all of the old videos that he'd found. I watched a video of me show jumping, and I was on a pony club team, and oh my god, if that was my daughter, I would have ripped me off the horse and just shoved me somewhere else. It was horrific. I'm like, God, imagine if I could ride then like I do now. So yes. Classical work.
I teach a girl, I'm like trying to explain the feeling of like when you're in balance and the horse is coming up underneath you and all of that, and like I just want to put my brain in her brain for a little bit so that I can give that to her. What you want to do is you want to
come and have lessons in classical and handwork so that you can get the horses to do that from the ground so that the rider can have the feeling.
I do want to do that.
It's like, for me it feels like the cheats way of teaching people, because you just teach the horse and them side by side, and suddenly there's this whole empirical thing of teaching through feeling. In France at one point, I'm rubbish at dates, that's why I've got a science degree, not a history one. But there were people who weren't allowed to touch the reins or the stirrups for 2 years. They just sat on well-schooled horses whilst other people worked them underneath.
I think that's how they do it in the Spanish riding school.
Yes.
I think I've heard that
They
as well.
basically are like, so when you start from the beginning.
Yes.
And they're like, this is how you sit, this is how you move with the horse. You are not controlling the horse. Nuh-uh, not at all.
No, no. Well,
And then
And they
as
put you
they
on the
get
best
better-
horses, and
Yeah.
then you like cross over.
And they say that they prefer to have people come that have never ridden before,
it's so much easier.
because then they can teach them correctly from the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and then they don't have to fix faults.
Yeah.
And I found it really interesting because I've started to teach a lot more beginners from the beginning, like what sort of things you have to say to them to make sure
Yeah.
that then when they do come off the lunge, or they start, that you don't have to then fill in gaps later on, and to always make sure. I found that you just explain things from the beginning. That if they ask a question,
Yeah.
you give them the most comprehensive answer you can,
Yeah.
Definitely.
rather than be like, brief answer, we'll explain it later.
I've had that with, I've not taught people from the very beginning, but I've taught them from kind of just starting to get their horses going properly. And I wish I'd had me as a coach at that age, because it's so much easier. Like, I feel like when you start teaching someone how to get their pony on the bit, if you start with stop touching its face, because you're not going to start there, we're going to start from the back end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it takes like a bit of time, but you get straight to a horse that's actually engaged and like properly on the bit, and not just with
Round.
its head round. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've just come back from this trip in America. I've been riding a lot on really nicely schooled horses, and I ride an Arab. Well, she's an Arab Connemara cross, but she's prone to Arab ears syndrome. And yet, since I've come home, miraculously, my horse seems to go in an outline all of the time. Unless there's a cow in the field next to us, but
Of course.
mitigating circumstances. And it's just to do with the balance.
Yeah.
And suddenly she's like, oh, it feels like I should walk in a balanced fashion because you're no longer tipping on my forehand.
Yeah. But I feel like I could have saved so much time
Yeah.
if someone had just been like, no, we're not going to worry about that side. We're going to do it like this.
The party take is the party take. Mine's been pretty wiggly to get to here.
Yeah.
So, but I'm glad of all of it.
I've just had this because I gave my sister a hand with her jumping the other day, and she was like, I don't want him to stop, and I was like, if you ride him like you don't want him to stop, he's probably going to stop because you're going to push him at the fence, and B, if he doesn't stop, what have you got to fix? Like, you can't tell him not to do it if he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, but I don't want to get it wrong, like I don't want to and I was like, you can't learn if you don't make any mistakes.
I mean, I'll find some videos of me riding slide, because I used to get it wrong all the time.
But anyway, what I've been doing, I follow an Instagram account that I listen to the podcast on, and pretty much every day they put up something that's to do with, like, I don't know, making progress, and it was like the 10 things to success, and it was try the first time, try again, keep trying,
Yeah.
look at what didn't work, have another go, be determined, go again. And I just keep sending her all these Instagram posts, like, just keep trying, just keep going, you'll get there eventually. And it doesn't matter if you don't, that everyone takes a different path.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
You and your sister overthink in such different ways.
Everyone's different, all right?
Do the same thing, but in different ways. It always makes me laugh.
So it's final question.
Yeah.
Do you think talent is real? And how much of an impact do you think it has on someone's success?
Different talents, I think, are real. Some people are naturally balanced. I hate them. I am not. Some people naturally have a great sense of rhythm. I'm also not a fan of them because I also don't have that. But I feel like I'm living proof that hard work can make up for a lot of that.
Yeah.
But so for me, my talent is determination in a dogged, ruthless, stubborn kind of a way. Just I love endurance. But in a way, I feel like it makes me a better coach to people because most of the pitfalls that people have been through, I've already been there.
Yeah.
Whereas people who just naturally have balance and feel find it harder to empathise with the rest of us who are blundering around trying not to fall over our own feet. So yes, talent definitely is real, but hard work makes up for most of it and makes you a better teacher, I think. Sorry to the really talented people out there teaching.
I mean, I've had lessons with really talented people, and they're just kind of like, well, you just do it, and you're like,
Well,
What?
for example, my mentor, so I trained at the National School of Academic Equitation,
Mm-hmm.
and my mentor is a bloke. He does not have dodgy joints like me. And he was going, why are you not holding the lunge line properly? Just hold a proper contact. And so I went up to him and I went, okay, show me what a proper contact feels like. So he was the horse and I was the human. And I was like, my finger was about to dislocate if I hold the rein that hard.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who rides on the way to the reins anyway.
Yeah.
It's super gentle. It was like, your gentle is too hard for my physicality.
Yeah.
So actually, no, I'm not. I just would like my finger to stay attached to my hand today. Thank you so much.
Right. Well, if anyone wants to find out more about what you do,
Yes.
where can they find you?
Everywhere.
With a less ominous voice.
I have a Facebook page. I enjoy Instagram a lot because I like pretty pictures of kittens. So I'm a holistic solution on both of those. And my snazzy new website will be up by the time this goes live because that's my deadline I've set myself. Including new blog posts because
Very cool.
I discovered this summer I love writing. So I've started. I have a lot to say, it turns out. So now I'm writing down, rather than subjecting my poor non-horsey husband to it. It's like, I don't really care about the intricacies of the shoulder in 4-track versus 3-track. Might you just write another blog post, please?
My dad's got very good at, yes, darling. Whatever you tell me, it's like, yes.
Yeah. My husband's got really good at noticing when the conversation says, and I think she needs a new saddle. Then he's like, hold on, sorry, I'm listening.
Oh, another thing, because I know Dad does listen to this, he's got very good at, he says he's got some specific terms that he knows, and so we'll be watching someone ride and he'll be like, needs more engagement, and he'll be like, yes, but I feel like you're just saying that.
Have you guys seen Skint Dressage Daddy on Facebook?
Yes.
Yes. They're just one of the best dads out there, I think.
Dad, that's why you need Facebook.
Neither of my parents are on Facebook, and I'm quite glad of it, actually.
Yeah, fair enough.
Then I haven't got to do the awkward, not your friend on Facebook. So not on Facebook!
I am friends with my mum.
I'm also friends with your mum.
Most of my friends are friends with my mum.
That sounds cool, I might have to find out.
My brother is not friends with my mum. And my mum will put things on Facebook and tag me in them and say, send this to your brother. I have to tag him.
That's brilliant.
Guy, because you're definitely not listening. Friend your mother on Facebook. I'm bored with being the go-between. Okay. And everyone knows where to find us. We are the Pony Podcast on Instagram, the Pony Podcast on Facebook. And if you have any episodes that you want to request, because we do requests, email theponypod@gmail.com.
And stay tuned, we're going to do a part 2 next week where Suz talks to us about her time when she went to America this summer.
Which is very exciting because we want to go to America.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.